I'm Mary Graney of Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange. I want to give you guys a minute to come in, and while we're doing that, some of you may be wondering, where the heck has Mary Grace been? Why haven't I seen her show? Why hasn't she popped up in the feed? It's probably because of all the usual shenanigans with the social media platforms who are neglecting for one reason or the other to send you notifications. Well, there's a solution to that, and that is to go to marygracemedia.com, get on my mailing list, and make sure that you never miss a show, because I will email a link to the shows as I post them and as I go live. So you don't have to worry about depending on those platforms. And of course, every now and then there might be a suspension or a hand slap, or I might be in Facebook jail or YouTube jail or whatever. But you can still go to my website and find links of anywhere to watch the show. We're going to go to our content now. I want to really talk to Andrew about what's going on, because I think if you're paying attention at all, you probably noticed that the market is doing something very interesting, and by that I mean the stock market. There are billionaires like Jeff Bezos, the Walton family, Jamie Dimon. These people are selling off collectively billions of dollars worth of company stock, and this is unprecedented for some of them. It's the first time they're selling off stock from their own shares. And so when things like that happen, people like me, my spidey senses start to go. And I want to ask questions, but I don't always know what to ask or who to get the information from. Well, I have with me right now Andrew Sorchini, and he's following this very closely. So, Andrew, tell us a little bit about just what's happening from a layman's perspective. What is going on, and what are we to make of it?
Well, I mean, these guys like Zuckerberg and Bezos and the Walton family and Jamie Dimon, and people may not know, but Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, and JP Morgan Chase is probably the biggest bank out there, the smaller bank. They're the bank that consolidates all the smaller banks that are failing. They're the biggest holders of physical silver. They're the smart money, and they're getting out of the stock market. And the stock market's been sky high since the start of the year. They think that the market has topped out. But the bigger question is, where is the $9 billion in stock money that they just sold? Where is that going? And it's not going into the centralized banking system. Everybody that I've talked to, the information that I'm getting is that it's going into physical gold and silver and into Bitcoin, because those are investments that are outside of the centralized banking system.
So they're not scooping up other stocks, is what you're saying. Because sometimes people do that, they buy at a bargain, but you're saying that they're actually allocating this money to a completely different asset class.
They are, because anything that they do with their funds, it if it's going back into the centralized banking system, it has to be reported. So, for example, Jeff Bezos, if he sells $1 billion in his company stock, he has to report where that's going. If he's buying like real estate, if he's buying stocks, they do that. So Elon Musk has done it when he sold Tesla stock to buy Bitcoin.
Hmm.
So Bitcoin has seen a huge spike this week. It's up like $13,000 per Bitcoin this
Hmm.
week. Now, I'm not here pushing Bitcoin. I
Yeah.
think Bitcoin comes with a huge degree of risk, but the existence of Bitcoin to me shows that there is a need for us to be able to hold assets that are outside of the centralized banking system. That means that aren't linked to banks. There's like no bank involved at all. It's just what they would call a store of value. But in my opinion, Bitcoin is not a store of value because it's such high risk. So I do think that some of those funds are going into gold and silver. And what we believe this is it's called a for trade. A for trade is this is the trade that sets up the real trade. We think that they're going into gold and silver. And yeah, it's
Okay.
a for trade to
Okay.
what BRICS are doing. So they're getting in on the ground floor of the gold-backed central bank digital currency.
Got it. Got it. That's really interesting. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth watching. And I think that one of the things that that people have a hard time getting their head around when you see things happening at a very high level like this with billionaires is how does it apply to me as an individual? So somebody who has a 401k, somebody who has cash in the bank in one of these traditional banks, maybe you sold a home, you're trying to figure out where to put that money, you're in between, you want to buy something maybe in the future, but you're waiting for interest rates to go down. Whatever it is, you have some assets that you want to protect. So, how does this affect those people?
Well, it affects them in a much greater way because the billionaires out there, if they lose $1 billion in a day, which we've seen happen to Mark Zuckerberg when a couple of different times, even Amazon, when Amazon's had a really bad day in the stock market, these
Mhm.
people could lose like $2-3 billion in a day, but that's a small piece of what they're worth.
Yeah,
So for people that might be working with a retirement account that's got 150,000 in it or less, or even if it's a few hundred thousand, you've got to be a lot more careful than what these other people are doing.
right.
And to me, I think you need to follow the money, follow the smart money. If those people are selling at the height of the stock market, where the S&P and the Dow are reaching all-time highs, that should signal to you that there's something better out there, or that market is topped out. And there's no such thing as a bad profit. So if you've made good money on Nvidia or AMD or Microsoft or even Meta, some of these stocks, sell part of it, sell all of it, take a profit, and do that for yourself and for your family, and convert it into something that's going to be stable like gold and silver. It's more important now than ever because we've got a lot of uncertainty coming. We will have a new president, or possibly a new president here in about 8 or 9 months. And
Mhm.
it's important to put yourself in a position to protect what you have versus trying to make money with it right now.
Okay. And when it comes to gold and silver, each of them serves a different purpose in your opinion.
Yeah.
And we're talking about physical gold and silver. To my listeners, this is a new concept, I think, to some people. If you go to your broker and they tell you that, yes, we can get you in silver and gold, it may not be exactly what we're talking about here. It's usually a paper certificate, and I'll let Andrew explain that. But when it comes to making a choice between should I be in silver? Should I be in gold? How do you usually advise on that? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of each?
Sure. So if somebody just sells a property and now you've got a big chunk of cash in your bank account and you're thinking about all the bad things that could happen while it just sits there,
Yeah.
then for somebody like that, I would say go into gold, because gold is the true store of value. Gold doesn't go up or down too much, but over time it does constantly go up. So it's just in small little movements, but it really, to give you an idea, in the early 70s, gold was about $30 an ounce. Back about I would say in 2007, gold was under $1,000 an ounce, and today it's at 2,050 an ounce, and it's probably going to head to 2,300 by the end of the year, and it could go considerably higher after that. So those small moves you can grow on that, you can build on that. And with silver is more speculative. See, silver is a heavily manipulated market by the big banks. So JP Morgan Chase, for example, owns the largest amount of physical silver of any company in the world. They have 600 million ounces of silver. But if you're with JP Morgan Chase and you talk to your financial advisor, and if you say that you want to invest in physical silver, they will tell you don't do it. It's a terrible investment and it doesn't serve what they do. But yet they have the biggest holdings of it, and they're using it as a hedge against their entire banking operation. So to me, silver can double or triple in price easier than gold, which means it's a long-term hold. You have to hold it for years, so it's not meant to be a quick flip. So we have different strategies for people, depending on what your uses are for the money that you do invest into silver or gold in the
Mhm.
future.
So if somebody is holding silver and they see, like, I think today silver is down a little bit, um, and they're looking at just holding it to preserve their wealth, is that something they should be worried about right now if silver is fluctuating a little bit?
I would only worry about it if your intention is to sell it in the short term. Because if you do, silver has about 20% swings in both directions. So, example, if you bought silver today and you had an emergency a month from now and wanted to sell it, you could literally be selling it for 20% more than what you paid for it, or 20% less than what you're paying for it, because the price fluctuates. It always goes between $21 an ounce and say $26 an ounce, and then back down to 21, then back up to 26. So right now it's at 22.50 an ounce, $22.50. So it's closer to the bottom. That makes it a good time to invest in silver.
Mm.
But silver should never be considered a short-term trade because it's risky in that regard. But if you're willing to hold it for, say, 5 years, it's probably going to be a lot higher than $22.50.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. And so when somebody calls you, calls your office, Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange, and they schedule a consultation, these are the kinds of questions they can ask. I mean, because it's a new territory for a lot of people. And what I'm coming to learn here, just talking to you, is there really are no bad questions when it comes to buying physical gold and silver. You actually have team members who will work with people who are just brand new at this, right?
Yes, it's so when you do reach out to us, you should be as specific as you possibly can in the notes section of the form that you can fill out right on our homepage, because that form lets me send you to the exact part of our company that can help you the best. So here's an example. If you have a 401k or an IRA and would like to learn how to roll that over into a precious metals IRA that holds real gold and silver in it that you could have access to and have it be a non-taxable event, then put that in the notes section and I'll get you to our IRA team. They're the best in the business. If you're a complete newbie and you literally have 100 questions, that's fine. Just let us know that. I'll get you to someone that can be very patient with you and explain it
Mhm.
to you so that until you completely understand. If you've been investing in gold and silver for years and really don't need that consultation, but would like to talk with someone about prices on certain assets, then put that in there. So it just helps me kind of direct traffic, so to speak, and get you to
Mhm.
where you're going to get the best help.
Okay, that's good to know. And if you're listening here and you can't see the screen, if you're just listening to audio only, it's the website is bh-pm.com, bh-pm.com. And you can also call. It's 866-346-5325, 866-346-5325. There is a QR code you can scan if you're watching visually here. Now you actually work with customers outside of the US as well, right?
We do, but they would have to have storage here in the United States, which we have a third-party storage option, and we do have people like in the Caribbean that store there. We have people in Australia. We do have people worldwide, but it has to be stored here. We also have people that lived in the United States but currently live elsewhere and have retirement accounts here. Those people can roll over retirement accounts to hold physical gold and silver. And
Mhm.
I see one question here that I would love to address because it's a really good question.
Yeah.
It's one of the listeners says, I know gold and silver has always been a good investment, but if when they make us go digital, where would you spend it? And people say bartering, but they can't spend it anywhere either. So
Mhm.
if we could address that for a moment, I think it's a
Yeah.
brilliant question. It's so we are going completely digital, where they're currently the BRICS nations have created central bank digital currency that's backed by gold, which is probably going to unseat the dollar as the world's reserve currency. We will go digital, and I'll give you an example. In the last 2 weeks, I've gotten letters from both of the banks that our company uses, Chase Bank and Wells Fargo. The one from Chase Bank said that we have clients that are paying for product by depositing cash to pay for the product right into our account, and that those cash deposits are under $10,000, and that if this continues, that they can shut our account down. And the reason is that the banks are threatened by the idea that people could be transacting in cash and have it not be reported. So now to Wells Fargo. I got a similar letter from them dated February 20th that says that for accounts like ours, for the company account, beginning in the middle of April, any cash transaction at all, even if it's under 10,000, will need IRS reporting. So that means if I pull out $1,000, if I were to deposit $1,000, if a customer were to deposit 5,000, it would be reported. So
Wow.
this ties into what the listener, Liz here, mentioned, is that the government and really globally, they want to make it so that every transaction that you could possibly do is going to be tied into the centralized banking system where it can be reported. So that means that cash will be completely eliminated. So the idea that you might have a stack of cash in a sock drawer or under a mattress, that's completely going away. So gold and silver will be the only way for you to own a form of currency that's outside of that system, and it will always be there. So maybe you might have an old gold chain that you wanted to buy something with. You could literally go to somebody and say, I'm told that this has this weight of gold. Today, gold is priced at this, and maybe you have a generator you want to sell me, and I would give you this toward payment for that generator. And that's how we would literally barter.
Hmm.
I think that gold and silver will always be outside of the centralized banking system, and that's why it's so important to own it if your privacy means something to you.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
And I was thinking about, historically, there was a time when the government actually confiscated people's gold.
yeah,
Um, do you see something like that happening again? I feel like people are smarter.
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
I don't see it happening again, and I'll explain. So, for people that this might be the first time you've heard about this,
yeah,
in 1933, when it was FDR, so when President Roosevelt was trying to get us out of the Great Depression, he created Social Security in that year, and they also created the Fed Reserve, and also um, they recalled all of the gold and silver. So they literally
yeah,
sent out notice saying you're not allowed to own more than $100 face value in physical gold coin. So back then they had like $20 gold pieces,
yeah,
$10 gold pieces, $5 gold piece. You could keep $100 in face value. The rest you had to go into the bank, give them your gold, and they would give you the paper currency. But at least the currency that they were giving you was gold certificate. It was backed by gold. So it was actually worth the paper that it was printed on because its gold counterpart would stay inside of the bank. So they literally recalled it. If you didn't turn it in, they could confiscate it from you. So now, fast forward to now. I don't believe it can happen here because now we're more about taxation here. And I think that with social media, you could create a flash mob anywhere quickly through social media.
mhm,
And I think that we would fight back. If they tried to confiscate our dollars, they would fight back. But I think what they will do is create, I do think that the government will create a problem and then give us a solution to that problem, like they always
yeah,
do. We
yeah,
saw it happen with COVID. So I expect something to happen with the dollar to take the actual physical currency and the
mhm.
coins completely out of circulation, but it'll be a solution to a problem that we created.
Yeah, yeah, they seem to be very good at that.
Yeah,
And, I mean, and you can see it too, different places that you go, they're going cashless.
yeah,
Even some of the national parks now are cashless. I don't know if you saw that. It's just
yep.
it's crazy. Um, and I'm I'm so opposite of that. I don't know. I'm so old school when it comes to things like that, and I don't wanna be in a situation where they can track everything you do, you know? I mean, I'm even on, looking for a vehicle that's pre-GPS. So I can have that sort of location freedom. But let's get back to the investing now. One of the biggest questions that we get from listeners is, or one of the objections, I guess, is that they can't afford to buy something extra, that the economy is tight, and so how could they possibly buy silver and gold? Can you explain how it's not exactly that kind of transaction that we're talking about?
Exactly. People will often say buy, and you might actually catch me saying buy, but what it really is a conversion of currency. So right now, if you've got a few dollars, okay, they're green, okay. So you've got greenbacks, you can convert those greenbacks
Mhm.
into gold and silver. It's more of a conversion, and if you need to turn them back into green, you can do so anytime. It's like when you visit another country, you get there and you take maybe $1,000 and you'll change it into the local currency. Then you're there for a few days, and when you leave, you take what you have left and you convert it back into the U.S. dollar. It's the same way for gold and silver. But really, if you find yourself, say, on Social Security, and this is one of the things that I see a lot in the notes section for the web submissions that we get, they'll say, "Look, I have like $1,600 in my checking account. It's all that I have to my name, and I'm on Social Security." They're like, "How much gold or silver do you think that I should get?" And I tell them, none. Just take some cash out of the bank, have it somewhere where you can get to it in an emergency. And don't be thinking about gold and silver, because the cash will serve you just as good if that's the amount that you're working with and if that's
Mhm.
where you're at. So I think it's different for each person, really. So
Mhm.
that's the importance of reaching out to us, is that we can help advise you on what strategies you might have for obtaining gold and silver.
Good, good, I like it. Now listen, you always have interesting stories for us about, encounters with brokers and bankers and bandits.
Oh yeah.
So, is there anything interesting that's come out of, from your clients or, your colleagues in the world of banking and brokerages these days? It's always very entertaining to hear what goes on in that world.
Oh yeah. So I've actually had recent accounts of people that go to the bank. Okay, actually, I should back up a little bit. So once you make a purchase through us, okay, we'll send you an invoice. The invoice is going to have bank wire instructions on it, and we ask you to go to the bank and send a wire transfer. And 9 times out of 10, it's not an issue, but that one time out of 10, it is. So what the bank will do is they ask you a series of questions, and they'll say, okay, so before we send this wire, just need to know, do you know the people that you're sending the wire to? And they'll say, well, I know about them because I heard about them on a show with somebody that I trust, the Mary Grace show. And they say, okay, all right, that's fine. Well, how did you obtain these bank wire instructions? And they'll say email. And they say, oh, email is a little bit risky. So could you call them and verify that the bank wire instructions are correct? Which, we do that when you're buying a home, because that's a large wire transfer. In many cases, the gold and silver also is. So they know that if you call us based on their recommendation to verify, that it's basically a 50-50 chance that we answer, because it is a call center. So we're on the phone all the time. So
Mhm.
we might not be able to answer the call live. And if we don't, then you either sit there for 5 minutes and hope that we call back, or you just don't do the wire transfer and you come back another time. And that's their plan. We've had some bankers say that, like, oh, what are you buying with this? Because I have to fill it in the little note section here,
Yeah.
and they'll say precious metals. And they go, oh wow, I mean, really, you should consider not doing precious metals. I hear a lot of scams involving precious metals, and it's very, very risky. Once you send the wire transfer, you can never retrieve it back. Do you realize this? And that, like, they try to scare the people. We've had people leave the bank and not send the wire transfer, call us crying and saying they wouldn't send my wire transfer. They said that they didn't think that this was a legitimate deal. And I've even had my own banks, like people go into Wells Fargo or Chase, and
Mhm.
we have accounts there, and they lead people to believe that it's not legitimate.
Wow.
And it's not that your actual banker that you might see, a couple times a week is a bad person. They're being told to do this from their management. Their management
Yeah.
doesn't want to see funds leave the centralized banking system.
Right.
And when funds tend to go back into gold and silver, a lot of the times they don't make it back into the bank. So they're more concerned
Yeah.
about their bottom line than yours. And I'll just tell you one other one. One guy, he wanted to wire us $994,000 for gold, and they just refused to send it. And they said, they would not send the wire transfer. They said, if you insist on sending it, then you can close your account, go make the deposit at another bank, open a new account, and then have them send it. And that's exactly what he did. But they let a guy with almost $1 million like close the account because they refused to send it for him.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. And just to make this clear to the listeners, the reason that banks do not want to let those assets go, they don't wanna let, $1 million account holder go, is because they actually use that money to lend and earn on it. Can you explain a little bit about that
Yeah.
system? Because I'm not sure people fully understand what the banks are doing with your money. It's not just sitting in a vault.
Hmm.
They're making money on your money.
It's true. In fact, I saw an article earlier this week that it's estimated that 2% of all the money deposited into banks is actually sitting in the bank.
Yeah.
So like that means 90% of everybody's funds who have made deposits in the bank, those funds are currently invested, and those investments would have to be liquidated for if everybody wanted to get all of their funds out of the bank. The money's just simply not there because they're investing in things like commercial real estate. They're investing in like I said, JP Morgan Chase has 600 million physical ounces of silver,
Wow.
even though they're telling you not to wire us funds to pay for gold and silver, yet they still have it. So the banks are oftentimes on the same playing field as the people that we talked about, like Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Jamie Dimon, and the Walmart family. Or the Walton family. It's these people know what they're doing. It's like they say the casino always wins. They're the
Yeah.
casino. They're the ones
Yeah.
that control the whole world. So I definitely want to
Yeah.
be doing what they're doing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Somebody just scanned the code, so thank you to whoever did that. And remember that you can go to bh-pm.com to contact Andrew and his team. And if you don't get through, just hold on; they will get back to you. It's a busy time. People are very interested in learning more and in making these trades. Um, so, there are concerns, of course, about scams. There are people on the internet who are scamming people. Somebody just commented in Rumble that a person whose name a lot of us know is a Rumble or YouTuber that is scamming people. Um, One thing about you and your team, the reason that I work with you is because of your credentials and because of the licensing and the anti-scam measures that you have in place. Can you just reassure some of our listeners about some of those things and how you're different from people who are selling, for example, limited edition commemorative gold coins and things like that, like the things you see on TV? How is this different, and how can our listeners know that when they deal with you, they're engaging in a legitimate transaction?
Okay. So, first of all, our company's spokesperson is General Flynn, and General Flynn is a good personal friend of mine. He was the national security advisor for Donald Trump for the beginning of the presidency, and for me, when I first met him, I was like, "Wow, this is a guy that can investigate anything he wants to. He can get information on anybody, any company, anything. And how lucky am I to be able to work with him because
Yeah.
it's the fact that I do, and he has access to find out anything. If I had anything to hide, then, or if our company was not good, then it would reflect poorly on him. So he had to be very, very careful in choosing us out of all the companies in the United States to partner up with. And to me, that's just an absolute blessing. Also, I work with so many different people as ad partners in podcasting, and I'm fortunate enough where they run commercials and advertisements with our company or with me, but it can also work the other way. So if we started to have bad transactions, then it would be your duty, Mary, to go onto a podcast, probably not with me on it, and say, okay, so we've heard a couple stories where Andrew's not doing good transactions over at
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Precious Metals, and for now would be a good time to halt all transactions until I can tell you otherwise, because at this point, I can't back this person or company. And that's what
Right.
you would have to do. And all the other podcasters, you owe it to your listeners and your audience and the people that follow you. And I respect that so greatly that even when we do have problems, which, for any big business, it doesn't matter if you're Coca-Cola, Mercedes-Benz, or Amazon, that there are people that are not going to be happy, and you just have to do your best to find a solution to where both sides are going to feel comfortable. And that's something that we promise to always try to do. And I think it is important. And just one more thing, like about that. So when you think about like this gold rush mentality, like 1848, more money was made at that time selling the dream than actually digging gold up out of the ground.
Yeah.
And a lot of people got scammed back then.
Yeah.
In 2010, when gold hit $1,900 an ounce for the first time, people wanted gold so bad they didn't mind if it took weeks for it to be delivered. They were paying high premiums for it, and that's when the scammers come out, when there's a gold rush. And right now, there's not a gold rush, but there should be, because the whole world is ready to go to a
Yeah.
central bank digital currency that's gold backed. So you need to have a relationship with a precious metals person that you feel can be trusted before this happens, so that once this gold rush does begin, you don't have to worry about dealing with some scammer.
That's really good. And the other thing that comes to mind too is that when you are presented with opportunities, one of the things to watch out for is a sense of scarcity and a sense of urgency and pressure. And you notice on this channel that we're not pressuring you. This is really a personal choice. It's a choice that should be made by prayer and talking to your family. So if you are investing and your investments affect other people, those conversations should take place with those people that it affects. And so when we ask you to scan the QR or call the number, it's not because we want you to have a sense of urgency, that you like the fear of missing out. That's not what we're trying to communicate here. We are trying to give you some sense of urgency so that you will take some kind of action, but it really has to be your decision. And so if you are ever presented with the alternative, which is if you don't act by midnight tonight, this opportunity is going away, things like that, you're not going to hear that on this channel. And that is a good litmus test. Put your finger up and, test the wind and see if you feel uneasy or pressured or rushed or fear of missing out. Those are some good signs that the people that you're dealing with are probably not working in your best interest. And so you will not experience that here on Mary Grace TV. And also, you probably know by now that the people that I'm working with, for example, Clay Clark, General Flynn, I trust their endorsements. And believe me, they would be the first to call out a scam or less than honorable, somebody that's dropping the ball. And so by the time you see me promoting somebody, it's because I've done my due diligence. And again, it's a personal decision, it's a family decision for you. Whatever you invest in, whether you're buying, freeze-dried meat or gold and silver or any of that, towels. I mean, you're making that decision based on your own research and your own personal responsibility. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. This is it's up to you, and that's something that we emphasize constantly. Andrew, do you have any last words for our listeners before we go today?
Well, we talk about a lot of things that have like dark connotations, and I never want to really like make it seem that way. It's like, sure,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things happening in the world that we need to be cautious about, but we are going to be fine. We're always fine. But when it comes to your finance, it's important that you do it not just for you but for your family. I love what you just said, that people should take the time to discuss this decision with people in their family, or even pray about it. It's important. Gold and silver have been around for thousands of years. So if you don't get the gold and silver you're being offered today, don't let somebody tell you that it is going to run out at midnight, or that it won't be available tomorrow or in a week. Because even if it's not the exact product that they're offering, if it's not available in a week, there's going to be something else after that. So
Yeah.
definitely take the time and make an educated decision. Write down the questions that you have before, like when you fill out the form and you submit it, write down any questions you have, or in the notes section on your phone, just open up a note and say Beverly Hills, and then just put your questions in there, so that when you call us and you do start to feel some pressure because you're talking to somebody that you've never talked to before, and they're asking you questions, but now you can't think of everything that you wanted to ask, write them down. That way you can read them off one by one, and we'll definitely help you.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you again, Andrew Sorchini, Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange. And I will see you in a week
Yes.
out
Yep.
in Oklahoma. We're going to be there with some other people in our network, and that's always a great time. So I'm looking
Yep.
forward to that. Everybody who, if you're watching the show, just a reminder that you can scan that QR code. Also, just remember that you can go to my website, marygracemedia.com, that when you do that, you can sign up for my mailing list and you can never miss a show. You can also go to the shopping tab and connect with other partners that I have there so that you can support America First businesses in your shopping. The other thing that I wanted to let people know as you're watching today is that I will have a live show on Sunday, this Sunday, with one of your favorite people. And he shall not be named here because of the censorship that happens sometimes when we play our cards too openly. But you will want to mark your calendars and come back and be here at 12 noon on Sunday, right here on all of my streaming channels. So I hope everybody has a very good rest of the week and a good weekend, and we'll see you back here on Sunday. Thank you again, Andrew Sorchini, for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, and hope to be back soon.
Thanks. Take care.